We'll follow that along with some hollandaise and then hit up the payday.
Ew, who likes payday?
I love payday.
What?
Boy.
It's so good.
Subtle, caramely, salty.
Yeah, super salty and delicious.
It doesn't even make you
No
feel bad
chocolate.
after you've eaten it.
Yeah, it feels healthy because
Feels
it's
like
got
you've
protein.
eaten an
Oh
actual...
my gosh.
Hey there, welcome to Board Game Barrister, our local game shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm Andy, and I'm here with Elizabeth, Ian, Glenn, and Gordon, and today we're talking Everything Ever, a category game where we'll have categories on the table, and we all have to name something in those categories out of all the things in the world. Let's get into it. Welcome to Everything Ever, a category game where we're going to go around the table naming things that fit in the categories on the table. Why is it called Everything Ever? Because the categories are things like every breakfast cereal and every Christmas movie, and when it comes to your turn, you just have to name something that fits in the first category and then something that fits in the second. So It's a Wonderful Life and Cocoa Puffs. So that's what you're trying to do. We'll start with 2 categories on the table and keep going around the table, but of course things get more interesting from there. Each player has a hand of 3 category cards that they'll start the game with, and if there comes a turn where a player feels like they don't have something that fits in one of the category, they've run out of ideas, they can replace it. So if I had to say Lucky Charms but just couldn't think of any more Christmas movies, then I could play my every fictional dog card and say Beethoven. That's going to add on to the stack, so there's now 2 cards in that stack, but when it comes to the next player's turn, they're just going to have to carry on from here with the 2 categories showing, which means they'll now have to name a fictional dog instead of a Christmas movie and a breakfast cereal. Now there's 2 main ways to go wrong when you're giving your answer in a category. The first is that you're not allowed to give an answer somebody else has already said, so you couldn't repeat Beethoven for the fictional dog. Secondly, you can't name something that doesn't actually fit in the category. If I tried to say eggs and bacon were a breakfast cereal, that's wrong and everybody else is going to call me on that. Whenever you go wrong in one of those 2 ways, you have to take that category card and all the cards underneath it as penalty points for the end of the game. And then we'll replenish to get a new category from our main stack here. Now I said you start with 3 category cards in hand, but you don't replenish those cards every time you use one, so this is a limited supply of lifelines you have. If you've run out of cards in your hand and you just can't think of an answer, that means you just have to take the penalty stack as well. Now the last thing you might see happen is that if it comes around to somebody's turn and they're able to think of a single answer that fits within both categories, everything that has a door in every famous car, truck, or van. If I said the DeLorean from Back to the Future, as the license plate here suggests, that's got a door and it's a famous car, so that means I get a bonus. I can choose to either draw another card into my hand and then play one of the cards from my hand back out to create a 3rd category in front of everybody. And that would mean on everybody's turn they have to go through all 3 categories naming something that fits. Or I can instead choose to just discard one of my penalty point cards and get rid of that. And the last thing is that because this is a category game that invites you to think about everything ever in the entire world that fit into these categories, you might end up at some iffy scenarios where people's answers are a little bit on the edge of correct, or people might start to exploit those categories, whether intentionally or otherwise. If we run around the table a few times with these categories on the table and I kept going to everything that has a door and saying something like my house, my bedroom, my office, and just naming rooms that I've seen before, all of which have doors, that's starting to get out of the spirit of the game. We're really looking for something interesting and unique that has a door, and my house was probably about as far as I should have gone with that answer. So maybe the first time I say something else in that realm, like my office, somebody else can then put a judge card in front of me and say, I'll allow it, but you're being watched. This would go out in front of me, and if I continued to push the line or did something else on another answer that was iffy in the same sort of exploitative way, that could get turned over to the you're out of order, which means I have to take penalty cards. We're going to keep going till that deck is empty and we'd need to replenish. That triggers the end of the game, and we're going to see who has the fewest penalty points in front of them. They're our winner.
So we just played our first game. We had 5 players. 5 was a great number to play with. I think that you could play with probably down to 3 and as many people as are around the table.
I would love this to 2-player, and I would want to have it at that 10 seconds. I would want that rapid fire, just me and you, going back and forth, seeing how fast we can go and how many we can get.
Otis from Milo and
Oh,
Otis.
yeah.
Otis.
I will say Uncle Sam and Toto.
Sam, played by Natalie Portman in Garden State, you know her. And Benji.
Oh.
Clifford, Sam the Eagle.
Sam Shepard and Hooch.
I thought I was going to be horrible at this game originally, but I think it turned out to be really fun, and the idea of I got many different ones that I could combine the 2 together, and that gives you bonuses, which was really cool to me. So I kept trying to think of stuff that I could combine the 2 together, which sometimes made me take penalties, but I still got second place, so and it was fun.
I also love that some of the cards give you an answer.
Sometimes they go right over your head.
Sometimes you go around your head and you give the answer anyways without thinking that. But like, you know, like every famous car, and it's got the DeLorean license plate from Back to the Future. Famous duo, peas and carrots.
Yeah.
I mean, like right on there. And the number of times people didn't go with the one that was on the card was kind of funny.
I specifically enjoyed being able to pull out artifacts from history and being able to name, you know, like breakfast cereals that have been discontinued for decades or what have you. And it's kind of funny to have that part of the banter around the table as well.
It's got a real strong, oh, good one element to it that's really fun, and that happened just a ton, and that's really rewarding.
Oops, all berries. Praying mantis.
C-Lab 2021
We're in deep.
and FX.
Kurt Russell drives the Pork Chop Express.
He does. That's great. I can't believe you got there. I'm so happy for you.
I was feeling very daunted going into this because I have this sensation of my brain not thinking well under pressure, which is true a lot of the time, but I like how the game is designed to shuffle through so many different categories over the course of the game. And then I found that there were just some where my brain shut down or couldn't think of anything, and there were some where I was like, I got 25. I'm ready to go on Shakespeare plays. Bring them on. My brain is ready to think about that right now, and that's great. So it gives you so many different opportunities over the course of it to have a category come up that you are feeling like, oh yeah, I'm good to go on this one. And then inevitably somebody's going to cover that one up because you're never going to get 25 rounds deep before, you know, a category gets exhausted. It's going to be 2 rounds later, but you're going to know on some of them you're safe for those 2 rounds. So long, Will. It was nice while it lasted. Could have come on. Ride your coattails.
In
for
the
a
name
long
of the
time,
night.
buddy.
In the name of the night.
Coriolanus, no!
Well, and the best part about the brain lock is that you've got an escape valve. You've got 3 cards in your hand that you can just stop the brain lock. I don't know any Shakespeare's plays. I'll change that right before Andy's turn,
Yeah, right.
so he can't use the 25 he's got saved up.
And don't be afraid to use them even on something where you know that you're deep in the category and your brain just is, like we were on named buildings, and I had a deep reservoir, but when it came to my turn, I suddenly couldn't think of any of them because, like, my third backup was Hancock Tower, and Elizabeth used it 2 turns earlier, and I'm suddenly like, that isn't even the one I was going to use, but it's one of them. Oh no, what do I do? What do I do? And so I just changed the category.
It's actually really unique for a game that's this competitive and this much of a hot seat to not have really, really feel bads. Like, it's very rewarding. You get a lot of very good brain chemicals and you feel like, yeah, I can totally do this. Oh, wait.
And in terms of replayability, so we played 5 people, we get 3 cards in our hand with a stack of 15 to play through. That's 30 cards. And you aren't even going to get to give all of your answers that you want for each of those categories. And here's the stack of cards. Right, it's huge. So there's so much variety in this game. It's just fantastic.
All right, that is everything ever. Thanks so much for joining us. We had such a good time with this one, and we hope you had a fun time watching. As always, hit that like button, leave a comment if you got one, subscribe if you want to see us every single week when we post new videos, and check out our online store. We got everything ever. We got a bunch of other cool stuff. Thanks so much for this week, and we'll see you next time.